Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of, technically we're still the week of the 18th.
Yeah.
We're closer to the 25th.
Nope. We're recording next week. That doesn't count.
And I'm Ryan Miller, and Mr. Nebraska himself, just Nebraska.
It's always on you, my friend.
Okay, I like it better with that. Nebraska himself, Matt Amberg.
I don't know. Mr. Nebraska does sound like a...
I know. Well, see, that's the thing is I think the other one sounds better, which is why I want to do it the worst way.
No,
that is my thinking.
It's the right thing to do, especially because Mr. Nebraska, I think, denotes somebody who probably is like a football player and is all like, I'm Mr. Nebraska. You know, it's like you've got Mr. Universe and then Mr. Nebraska.
Okay, I see. Well, doesn't it kind of work then? Like, I feel like if I were, I'm not Mr. Universe, obviously.
I feel like I would argue that, Mr. Universe.
Oh, thank you. I feel like if I was assigned an actual geographic location so as to describe my even just body shape, it would be Mr. Nebraska. So.
Oh, come now. You are obviously a Mr. California at this point. You're so slender.
Disagree.
You don't get to.
Dang it. I was hoping for a circle gets the square.
I'm sorry.
On Book Club for Movies, where we watch one movie a week, think about Hollywood squares on a weekly basis minimum, and ask you to do the same, either one.
Both.
And you can find us at bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter. There's a podcast, do the math. And Patreon, where every tier elicits a tear from us of thanks.
And possibly from you.
Or sadness.
Oh.
Get in on it.
Spread it on.
Patreon/Book Club for Movies. This week, we are doing Nebraska, like I said. And Matt, you're doing a synopsis, I think.
You think correctly.
Yes.
Nebraska. I feel like the movie...
Pretty good synopsis, actually. That's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of it, right? It's such a it's a relaxing movie, or is it? I don't know. Nebraska, an hour and 55 minutes, written by Bob Nelson, directed by Alexander Payne, starring Bruce Dern, Will Forte, June Squibb, Stacy Keach, and Bob Odenkirk. Here is your Book Club for Movies synopsis for Nebraska. After an aging alcoholic receives a letter claiming he won $1 million sweepstakes, he is adamant about heading to Nebraska in order to claim it.
Beautiful. And you did, in fact, synopsize and summarize and explain the entirety of the movie as one does for, I feel like, an Alexander Payne vehicle. Now, I admit, I have gone to sleep on Alexander Payne for a good long while. I don't think I've seen anything since About Schmidt in college.
That's something you should potentially resolve.
Yeah, this is the guy behind Sideways and
Election, man.
Election, I guess, even before About Schmidt. Yeah,
Election was my man. That was the movie that introduced me to Alexander Payne as a director. He'd done that, and then I didn't know, but I had also seen Citizen Ruth, which is a Laura Dern flick that has
oh really?
Yeah, Swoozie Kurtz is in it. It's a super great film. But then he did Election and About Schmidt, and I don't remember anything about Schmidt. About.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, actually, this is what I was about to say. Even is that I feel like I've fallen asleep on his stuff, but he kind of makes sleepy stuff. It not in a bad way, you know, like he's not going to make, even though Nebraska, I feel like was as close to a blockbuster as he, actually no, Descendants.
The Descendants, I think, was his biggest thing, yeah.
But still, Nebraska did quite well. He also did, the most recent thing was Downsizing. I guess he was the one which I still want to see, honestly, but.
Never heard anything good about, yeah.
Okay, yeah, didn't get any of the reviews that Nebraska or Descendants did. So I'm not going to say it's not my fault. Still my fault.
I'm going to give you, I'm going to, you know what? No, I don't think it's your fault.
Yeah, it's his fault for making these sleepers.
Ryan.
It's
not your fault.
Oh, I see.
It's not your fault.
Wow, I do feel better. Is that how that works?
It's not your fault.
Boy, this is quite the Saturday here.
You are not to blame but you are to blame because you you slept on him. Which also, when you slept on him, was he like comfortable with that?
I get the feeling he was extremely comfortable with it because he appears to make the kind of films that he wants to make that are still, and this is why I think Sleeper in any sense of the term is not fair, obviously, because Nebraska is this quiet little poem of a film that I don't even know if it would have put me to sleep if I had been watching it at 2 a.m. like I tend to do sometimes for these movies. The movies we watch for the show, not these movies that Alexander Payne makes. They're just so enrapturing, from music to, I'll include performance, even though I think Bruce Dern is really the only standout performance,
Sure.
Will Forte I love Will Forte in probably just about everything he's done and does, but Bruce Dern is out there. Just, is he anybody but Woody? Like, not as far as I can tell. He just that is Woody.
It is that character work is outstanding, and it's funny too, because if you watch interviews with him afterwards, like, I watched the movie and I go, is he that, like, out of it?
I was this close to looking up footage. I'm like, does he actually walk like that now? Like, how much did they just get him to be on the set? And how much is he really, and I don't know because I didn't look it up, but you
no, yeah, he's not at all. I mean, it's a performance. I mean,
that's insane. That is so good.
There is a little bit there, he is an older man, but it's not, he's definitely putting like an affect on all of it.
That's so good. Yeah, man. He's so good in this. And everybody else actually appears to be mostly non-actors except for Stacy Keach, obviously.
June Squibb,
obviously, yes.
And Bob Odenkirk.
And okay, yes.
And also the one cousin who's in a bunch of movies.
Yes. I guess I was thinking everybody but the main players.
But everybody else. No, it's so one of the things that I find charming about this movie that I think also makes it work is that there is a blending of cinema and reality here. Nothing in this movie is out of bounds in terms of what the story it's telling. It's very, very realistic in a billion different ways.
Oh yeah.
Easily. And Woody is clearly he's our protagonist and the antagonist to a degree. I think that when you have that top down thing where you've got this amazing actor and then you've got supporting actors and then non-actors, and the way that it just falls together into this, like, it meshes so well in the film he's making,
Yeah, and I guess when I say non-actors, not speaking of the main cast, I'm talking about all the people that he runs into throughout all these, because they take the trip from Billings to Hawthorne in 2 days.
I bet he was driving backwards.
Like, all the people that he meets along the way and the people that he visits inside the town because they're from Hawthorne or whatever, they've got to be non-actors. Like, they're or haven't spent their life acting like a Bruce Dern or something like that.
Sure.
And it's perfect. Like, not to their detriment at all. In fact, the thing I love most about that is by the end of the film, we're going to spoil Nebraska, but the state and the movie. He's making this drive through town, and he's driving by all these people, these non-actors, I think exclusively at this point, except for Stacy Keach. Again.
Stacey, yeah.
He's driving by all these people that we've met along the way, and each one of them ceases to be in fact, non-actor is probably a very bad term to be using with all these. I just mean people that
they're not professional actors. These are they're walk-ons essentially.
However that goes, because by the time he's making that drive through, I think they all cease to be non-actors. Like, there's that one girl that runs the newspaper that dated Woody at one point, and he drives by her, and she just has this look and doesn't drop it for a second, and it's amazing. And there's a few of those instances, even if it's just, the old dude like waving hi as they drive by.
Looking good, Woody.
Yeah, and I'll give that all to Alexander Payne. I know this is one of his first, if not the first, and maybe since, that he didn't write himself. You mentioned Bob Nelson, which also, strange enough, I don't see a whole lot on Bob Nelson's written by The Confirmation, Heiston, The Eyes of Nye, The Magic Hour. That's it. And I don't recognize. So
Yeah.
all credit. Apparently, Alexander Payne did not have to rewrite any but a few things that he wanted to or something like that from the script. So it all just came together so very perfectly.
Yeah.
Between all of those things.
Agreed. And jumping back real quick to the to the main cast. I don't know. I think everybody that is in the main cast is actually doing a really good job, and I think I think this actually is a great role for him.
Yes.
I think that also you have him kind of up against working with universally an actor who is going Bruce Dern, he's been around for a while, like this ain't his first rodeo. And this is, but he wins like a Golden Globe for this movie. He was nominated for Best Actor, which he should have won.
Totally.
I remember when I saw the movie and it popped up for the Academy Awards, and I don't remember who beat him, but it was similar to the whole Chaplin thing where I was just infuriated by the fact that...
let's not even bring that up. I thought maybe he did win something for this.
Yeah, the Golden Globe. He won the Best Actor Golden Globe.
Okay.
Yeah, which, I mean, is great. That's, maybe...
It's a Golden Globe, whatever.
It's maybe more important to actors than the Oscar. I don't know. But, Will Forte playing the... I've read a few things where they claim he's the estranged son, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels more like he's just the son, that he's there and that dad is older and was an alcoholic as a kid. So I don't know. I go with the estranged anything here. More just, this is family life for him,
Yeah, I mean, you could be splitting hairs at that point. I think if you hear about an estranged something from a movie, you expect maybe some level of histrionics to happen, and that's what's not going to happen. I feel like in any Alexander Payne movie. I haven't seen, again, most of them. So, but
but you're right here where that is not the situation. It's very much, there is kind of a line drawn in the sand by the family. Mom is June Squibb. She desperately does not want Woody to be going to Nebraska because she knows this is all a lie, and she gets it. The brother,
he got a sweepstakes letter in the mail, and he thinks it's proof positive that he won.
Yeah, it's the nonsense. You won $1 million. No, you didn't. And they tell him that at the beginning.
Yeah, so he wants to go to Lincoln to get the winnings because it literally says turn this in at our office. So that's the recurring theme. In fact, that's the refrain. Was actually, here's a callback to, I think it was last week's show where I couldn't remember the word I wanted to use for recurring. Yes, thank you. But that's the refrain throughout the film, is that he's constantly even like getting up and leaving, like walking towards Nebraska just to get there
because he can't drive.
Yeah, also.
which is the whole thing. Like a whole chunk of the movie is him wanting. The only reason he wants the money is he wants to buy a new truck. He wants to replace the air compressor that he lent to an old friend 40 years ago.
Ed Pegram.
Yeah. Ed.
That's Stacy Keach.
He's a good bad guy. He's same thing when he was in he plays a bad guy in Sin City too, and a bunch of he's always a bad guy. But he's good at it. He's real good at it. And in this he is the closest thing I think we get to the face of an antagonist, if you're gonna go that route. But again, I feel like this movie is more, the antagonist is like the condition in which Woody is in. That's, everybody around him is a supporting antagonist, with the exception of Will Forte, David, who is, he's trying to be understanding of the situation and kind of find a peaceful resolution to it, because everybody else in this movie snipes at Woody. Everybody, up until they get to where they're visiting Hawthorne. And his brother and sister-in-law don't at all, but they also don't really talk to each other. And then as soon as everybody finds out that money is involved, well, now everybody is super nice to him.
Which, by the way, some of my favorite scenes... okay, that's hard to say. I was going to say some of my favorite scenes in the film are those ones in Hawthorne where more and more family keeps showing up and they just keep sitting down in front of the TV and having those 2-word conversations.
And further and further... this is another just one of these things. There's actually a couple pieces of this that I want to talk about. But if you watch, like, further and further, Will Forte is pushed away from his dad so more people can fit in. And at the very end, when like everybody is there, he is on the edge of the frame and he's constantly doing this. He's like, he's in frame, but he's leaning over, and it's just such a brilliant setup for that Payne has put together for it. Like it's a brilliant set of blocking, how all these people are essentially still life, barely moving their heads to even look at each other, right? The 2-word sentences, and then Odenkirk walks in, hey, looks at the TV, who's playing? Chicago and Detroit. And then Will Forte with the, how long did it take you to get here? And everybody going, huh?
Everybody turns, because that is the thing. Like, how long did it take you to drive will get anybody's attention.
Which is hilarious, because again, it's this one of the things that this movie also so does, which feeds into one of the things I specifically want to talk about, which is the choice to film or make the film black and white.
Yeah.
Number one, I think this is a different movie in color. I actually don't know if it works as well. I think the black and white really solidifies how this story weaves itself and comes together, because it evokes that, number one, of course, it evokes older film. I mean, that's universe. When you putting something in black and white, you're trying to evoke a very specific time period with it, or a purpose in film, right? And this movie taking place between Montana and Nebraska is, even as a quote unquote road trip, it's a slow movie, but not slow as in the story isn't moving along. Slow, like it's that small sleepy town. Like you talked about at the top of the show, the movie is a sleepy movie that's doing a lot. And the black and white filming with that, I think, really, really is pointed to that, along with the basic cinematography choices. The cameras are not fast moving. They're plodding along no matter where they are. There's lots of just letting the camera sit still on life moving around. It feeds into what this movie is telling. You know, it's about depression and old age, and like so many things about, who we are and who we become, and what our family does to us and what we do to them, and all of it. And I think it's a like this, what I said at the end of the movie, again, it's the same thing I said the first time I saw it, is it's a beautiful movie that is heartbreaking because it's not in any way out of line with anything that could happen to any of us that can live that long. We all have these little chunks in our lives, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, by the end, are you heartbroken? Like, do you finish this film heartbroken?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Interesting.
It's not the, like, it's all the things that lead up to it. Like Woody, let me ask you this. Do you think from the beginning of the movie, does Woody realize that it's a scam and he's just...
Excellent, beautiful, perfect question. That is, I want to say, okay, I only have like 5 or 6 notes on this film, and I think most of those might have to do in some way with that question, because for most of the movie, I'm not sure he really is buying into it. In fact, I'm not really sure until they lose the piece of paper. He gets it back. He has like an episode where he ends up in the hospital, and even after that, Will Forte wakes up and he has left to start walking towards Nebraska again. And Will Forte goes and picks him up and is like, "Fine, you're not going to let this go. Let's do it." And for maybe the third or fourth time, it starts heading towards Nebraska. And at that point, Woody still has the paper in hand, is reading it for who knows the millionth time. At that point, I was like, okay, I think he does actually buy it. But for the large majority of the film, and I'll give this to the direction and Bruce Dern, they play it, I think, right down the middle, where Woody is not a raving lunatic. Like, he hasn't lost it. I don't even know that it's like senility. Like, I don't even know if I would look at him and be like, it's just so good at communicating so much with so little. And there is a lifetime of that in this film.
Totally. Yeah.
And yeah, by the time I do actually know that Woody has bought into it, I've spent the entire movie just being like, he's just old. Like, I don't know this fully yet, but I imagine I'll get there at some point where you just don't care, or you only care about the things that you wish you cared about so long ago. Like, he's going to start walking to Nebraska. What's the worst that could happen? He dies? Like, what does that even matter anymore? You know, like...
Yeah, no, 100%. And I, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree with you all the way here. Like, it's that moment where with Stacy Keach, when everybody's laughing at him, he knows everybody's laughing at him. He knows it. There is no way he does not know it. And he walks up to him, and that moment is so critical, I think, for how this movie, like, part of the reason why there is a little heartbreak to it. And it's partially because of that sequence where, boy, right. Keach, at the moment he hands the paper back to Keach, hands him the paper. There's a moment where, like, throughout this movie, Stacy Keach comes off as he's older too, but you know, everybody else around Woody seems to have their stuff together, and he's the only one who's not focused. Like, he is in his own world more than anybody else. He has his own thing. Everybody else seems to be, you know, they can move, they can walk, they can run around. We did find out at some point later in the film why Woody doesn't walk so well and why he doesn't talk so much, because he was shot down in Korea.
Right.
Which is the way that's given out and just provided as a piece for us. It helps.
And Will Forte's
and
character.
I was going to say, and it helps Will Forte's character get a grasp on partially why his father is the way he is, but it also gives us backstory for the entire, everything we've seen of him. That suddenly now makes sense. And when Stacy Keach hands him the paper, Keach does an amazing job with his face, the expression he gives, where, to me, he finally realizes that he doesn't know. To him, he's like, he's so old. He doesn't get it. He really believes
You're
this.
right. Now that I think back, that was probably the moment I should have been like, oh, he really buys this. Otherwise, he wouldn't. Actually, I guess I don't know, because he might, even if he knew it wasn't like 100% legit and it was just something he chose to focus on to give his life meaning or whatever for a little while, I feel like even walking in on people making fun of him, he probably still would have had a similar reaction. So I don't know if I knew 1,000,000% at that point, but you're right, that was a clue.
But it's a great moment because
regardless,
Keach, there is that moment of, like, Keach realizing, I think he not only realizes for him what his perspective is now on Woody, but also everything he has said and done since they came to town, that he's threatened them and he's made a big deal of this, and now he's making fun of him. Like, it is a moment where Keach truly looks like shamed. Like, he looks like he is ashamed of himself. And then Forte gets his moment to deck him, and it's great. That I think also fantastic. It was nice to see, because also throughout the film, Forte is not, he gets picked on a little bit here and there, and this is the first time we really see him stand up for something and make a choice, which we are given to believe he's got a hard time with that, based on the fact that his wife or girlfriend had left him. They're not living together anymore. She is
and he's like, do you want to get married? Do you want to break up? She's like, I don't care either.
Let's do both. Let's just do something. And that was, again, it's the way it all ties together. Is Payne did an amazing job with that, putting that together, and Bob Nelson for writing that. It's a super well transitioned piece of knowledge that flows throughout, and I really liked it.
Yeah, so I almost forgot we were talking about the heartbreak thing for a second. I think this is where the movie is heartbreaking in many ways, and probably, if we were doing a scale, it's probably more heartbreaking than not. But I think by the end, I'm not heartbroken is where I draw the line.
Sure.
Because of, I think, a lot of what we talked about and how good it is at communicating a lifetime within a single film. But also because the ending of the movie is that drive. So Woody at some point lets drop that, so for the whole movie, he's like, because I want a truck. I want to go collect $1 million because I want a truck. I want a new truck. I've just always wanted a new truck. And then in a conversation where we finally get to the bottom of that, it's, I've just always wanted a new truck, and I wanted to leave something to you boys, which is maybe the most endearing or only endearing thing he says about his kids for the entire film. And on the way home then, Will Forte stops off at a place, buys a new truck, and for a second, Bruce Dern is like, did you work something out with, they've already gone to the sweepstakes people, and they've been like, no, you don't have the winning numbers.
He's got his
hat.
He's just got his hat.
But he's like, do you work something out with the prize people? And he's like, yeah, Dad, I worked something out with the prize people. They went as far as the truck. I guess I would be more apt to think that he believed that, but so they take the truck back to Hawthorne, and it's in Woody's name. So Will Forte hops out, and he's like, here, drive it on through. And he's like, I thought I'm not allowed to drive. And he's like, it's just one street. So that's when he has that drive through the middle of the town waving.
And he says, and I think, I love this. He looks at him and he says, he does give him it's only a couple blocks. There's no traffic, and it's your truck. And the face Bruce Dern has, like, it's the first time in the movie you see the old man Bruce Dern, who has been grumpy and quiet and like tacitly just the meanest person but not vocally, his eyes light up and he looks like a teenager, he's
king of the world, man. And it's shot from that low angle, like it's from Will Forte's side of the truck, but it's like low, so he's like in a big rig as he's going through that town. It is, and that's why I say that even just that scene alone, like, I'm not heartbroken by the end of that film. That is wonderful.
I suppose it's the combination of what the end of that movie is. It's a wonderful ending. It's a fantastic ending, and the end of the film is just them pulling. We get them pulling out of the town. They stop, they switch positions, and they drive off. And that's and as the credits are rolling, And in one respect, it's beautiful because it's I guess this is a perspective thing too. How you look at what life meant to you. What you got out of life, what you put into life. And like you said, I think beautifully is, this movie does fit a lifetime into a film, and it is that, the Woody character lifetime, and it's at the end, it's both heartbreaking and beautiful. It's heartbreaking because you look at not only him and the family that he has, that the minute they all hear he's got money, everybody wants money. Everybody.
Dude, his freaking cousins rob them outside of the bar at
right.
They rob, because this is the thing too, is nobody will believe Will Forte throughout the movie, where he's like, he didn't win anything.
Constantly.
It's not for real.
And then Odenkirk shows up And he's like, he didn't win. They didn't win anything. Nobody won anything. And everybody is now calling Odenkirk a liar and all that.
No, that's smart. I wouldn't tell anybody till I had the money in hand also. We get it.
Right. Like every excuse that they can come up with about, we know why he doesn't have the money right now. Again, just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think we might have. This will be the last thing I say about it, at least, because I don't have this experience, right? Obviously, I'm not this old yet. Like, I don't have a father. Do I have a father that's this old? I might have. No, I don't have a father that's this old yet. But also, I'm not.
Thanks for reminding me, Ryan, that I don't have a father.
No, not where it's going at all. Jeez, now who's heartbroken? Oof.
Okay, I feel like this was
feel bad for me.
I feel like that was a Paul F. That was a PFT Scott thing,
or a Arrested Development, where oh, I forgot your wife is dead. It's complete silence.
The way, also, just on a sidetrack,
David
Bateman's face when he goes, so good. Is that
we got the Arrested Development reference out of the way. Great.
all right?
But I don't have any of these experiences. In fact, I have often wondered what I do have experience with is seeing old couples that are still together that appear to hate each other, right? I do have a little bit of experience with that. And man, yes, Woody is an ornery old dude, but man, the mom, I can only remember her actual name, June Squibb, but the mom in the film, Kate, she is also a pill. Like, nobody is
Oh, I love
seems
her.
like they'd be easy to live with, or however you want to put that.
I love her character. She's
love it.
She's a firecracker.
She is, and she like all the stories they get throughout the movie that are obvious about how much she put out and like how
she has. I think the bit in the there's a sequence where after they've made it to Hawthorne, they decide that, okay, everybody's going to come down. So Kate's going to come down on the bus. They pick her up and she immediately is like, take me to the cemetery. I want to go pay my respects. She's all angry about it. And then there's like a good 5-minute sequence where she is going over, and this is again, this is a perfect balance of comedy and reality and the sadness that exists in it. Mm-hmm. Because she's going over all of Woody's family, and this is again furthering what we know about him and why he is the way he is, that every single sibling, with the exception of the one, they all died, and they all died young. His sister died at 19 in a car crash. His brother died at 2 years old, sleeping in the same bed with him, got scarlet fever. And somehow Woody didn't get it. His mother and father both died relatively, I feel like they said relatively young as well.
And then it's all coming from her, though. Remember,
right,
like, this isn't like she knows all of this, right? This is her family as much as it is his, or her life as much as it is his. It's
and she drops these little treasures of bits and pieces of comedy in here, and then at the very end, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know he died. When did he die?" And she looks at Will Forte and goes, "This guy was always trying to get in my pants." And Will Forte,
for like the third time,
yeah, and he just goes, "Oh, nobody wants to hear this," and he walks away. And there's this shot of her from behind, and she's wearing a long skirt, and she pulls up her skirt, and she goes, "This is what you could have had," and she walks away to
she's
a grave.
A nut, man. She's fantastic, but
that character also is the only one who, for as much as she is the firecracker and all that, she's also probably right that he does need to be in a home. She's also the only one who, like, she is the one in the family that stands up for him.
Yeah.
But she is, I have no doubt in my mind that they love each other and that she still loves him.
And that's where I'm going, is that I don't, like, from the outside looking in, I just see people that seems like they don't want to be together anymore. But by the end of this film, I get that. And to me, that's when movies are at their best, obviously. Like, they can give experience. Like name any other, like I love video games and they're interactive and there's so much potential and stuff there. I don't know if they have this yet, or I don't know if any of them have done this for me. And it, you know, their strengths might be in other or different or whatever areas. But when a movie can literally give you experience, give you knowledge, like feel like you understand now when you haven't yourself been in that situation, like that's everything to me. Like that's when movies are at their absolute best, and this is one of those movies.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a bunch of a movie for such a beautiful little poem of a film.
I love that. I love that, calling this a poem of a film, because it really does feel like you hit that on the head too. It feels very much like something that came from Walt Whitman. You know, like I could see
Sure.
Whitman writing this story. I could see this story being written by, you know, not necessarily the poetry of it, but the authorship of Jack London. This is something that just fits in a world that they could have created, and that it was created now, modern day, beautifully written. You mentioned video games. The only video game I can remember in my recent past that I actually will say I think was very affecting, but I also think you have to be a little more open to it, because it's not quite as direct as this might be because of the premise, but it's very much so was Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah, haven't got there yet actually. Yeah.
It's very short, but the story that they tell and what they're getting across in terms of mental health is very clear. It was clear to me, and it was just absolutely staggering from a story perspective. Like it hit me. Yeah, 100%, man. Nebraska is, there's actually a pull quote on the box, because I actually own this on Blu-ray. I bought this right after I saw it.
Not surprised. Yeah.
The pull quote on it is, "This is a movie I'll go back to for the rest of my life." And it is a movie I think I will go back to for the rest of my life. I love this movie.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to all of the Alexander Payne I've been missing first. But yeah, I could see myself coming back to this thing, obviously.
This is up there for, there's another movie. I don't know that I've ever told you, shared with you, like maybe my favorite, the movie that hit me the hardest, that just, and has repeatedly upon reviewing it. And I love it. Like it's a different, like all my horror movies are here, and there's this one that's on a totally different plane.
Okay.
Have I ever told you about how much I love The Fountain?
Oh, I saw you tweet about it recently.
This movie is up there with that for me, and that movie is one of my all-time favorite. Like I'm not being facetious. This is not a genre thing. This is in my top 5. If I have to break this down all the way, that's probably my number one favorite movie that actually affected me all time.
You mentioned horror movies. It's not a horror movie.
Not
right?
at all.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying is like I've got my, like I talk about my top 5
Gotcha.
horror. I talk about this and that.
It's 4 horror movies and The Fountain. Is
and
what
The
you're
Fountain,
saying.
yes. like the movies that I can that right now, when I think about that, and I think about Nebraska, it's kind of The Fountain, Nebraska, and A Ghost Story.
Oh,
Those
okay.
just-
Well, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad for me.
Oh yeah, the Fountain. I don't think. Wow, I don't know if we could do a show on The Fountain.
Oh, one of those movies. Hey,
Like
that's totally fine. I've got a zillion of them. Every Wes Anderson or actually Wes Anderson doesn't scare me as much as another Coen brothers, and I think we did like 2 in a row because we're idiots. But
yeah, that would be a hard one for me to verbalize. I think how it makes me feel.
Cool. Let's do it live and just crap all over ourselves for an hour.
We can do it.
33 stars for Nebraska
Out of 31.
So go see Nebraska. It's impossible to spoil if you think we've done that at all. Like, no matter what we tell you about what happens in that movie, even as much as we can communicate the dialogue. It's just like anytime somebody is talking, you are enraptured, entertained, laughing. You want it to happen again right after, and it does. Like, it's just for the movie that it is, it's amazing that it does that, and it totally does do that.
There is a one moment that I absolutely just I have to call out in terms of the dialogue. Last thing I'm going to say about the movie, because this is just a tight moment of, I have to assume Odenkirk had a little help, provided a little bit here, but there's a bit with an air compressor and the theft of an air compressor. And between Odenkirk, June Squibb, Bruce Dern, and Will Forte, there is a Marx Brothers, Laurel and Hardy-esque discussion about how they did it, why they did it, what was going on, why didn't you stop us? Well, how did I know? You didn't say anything. And it is played pitch perfectly.
Oh, yeah. Not a false note, not a false word. Like, it is perfect filmmaking. Also, the place that it occupies in the film is kind of like this. The family is coming together at this point. Like, we've only seen them at each other's throats, and there's a few things. One of them is that she gets to tell people off or whatever, but then the other is this compressor thing. Like, it's fantastic. Yes. In fact, 34 stars
out of 30. The more you go up, the more I go down.
It's perfect. The system works. Come check us out at or email us, whatever, podcast at bookclubformovies.com, or just go to bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter or Patreon. Mm-hmm. I think there should be a new post up there within the day, but I don't know when. By the time you hear this, it's up. Go check it out.
Yeah.
It's about something.
We're doing cameos also.
Did you see Paul F. Tompkins is doing cameos now?
Yeah, he started. He started at. Did you see his requirement?
I watched the video. I don't. What's the requirement?
Oh yeah. So he won't. He'll. You can give him your name.
Oh, that's
and that's
right.
It. He will not.
Yes.
Because he said the thing I'm most concerned about is people turning this into some pro-Nazi propaganda. So I will take your first name and then I will say whatever I want.
Which is beautiful, also for a improv comedian. Yeah. If the thought really counts, I 5 minutes hesitated on that button. I almost got you a Paul F. Tompkins cameo. And now if I do, it's the surprise is ruined, but it won't be. Matt, do we know what we're doing next week?
No.
Okay, well, great.
I do have one rest of the show that I'll give you.
Okay.
So I had a few, like last month, I think I was going through a weird future phase thing where I was watching I watched Screamers and Johnny Mnemonic and all that stuff. And I'd been wanting to watch Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 again. I haven't seen 2049 since the first time I saw it.
Right.
That movie is 10 times better than I remembered it. And
2049?
Yeah.
Or...
And I loved it the first time I watched it. It's way, way better than I remembered it being. Like, that was for a sequel being made like 30 years after the original, to follow up on that and to keep it making sense and fitting into the original vision, what Ridley did and how that story came together. The movie is phenomenal. Like, it is outstanding. Everybody does a great job. I love Gosling in that movie. Maybe the only other movie I like him more in is
The Notebook.
I was gonna say Place Beyond the Pines, but that or Drive. But
wait, I thought you hated The Notebook. I was
no, A Place Beyond the Pines, not The Notebook. The Notebook is hilariously awful.
That's what I was waiting for. Yeah.
Beth, seriously, there are two movies that Beth absolutely, that like people are like, oh, I love that movie. It's so important. It's such a good movie, that she, number one, just thinks are awful, and number two, laughs at like throughout. The Notebook is one of them. She's like, that is the dumbest freaking movie. Who cares? Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams? Nobody cares. Who's caring about this? Who's watching this and loving this? That's what Beth says. The other movie that she consistently like absolutely dumps on is the boxing movie Clint Eastwood directed with
right, yeah, sure, $1 Million Baby.
She laughed out loud in the theater when at the end when she gets knocked out and breaks her neck. She freaking laughed out loud. So, but
maybe the only movie that gets that right is, in fact, it might be one of the funniest, if not funniest, moments of Scary Movie 4, which isn't as good as Scary Movie 3, let's admit it. But yeah, just like I think by the end 20 people fall and break their necks on stools that way. Yeah, just everybody like one after the other just keep falling.
So stupid. But Blade Runner 2049, man, it's streaming on Netflix right now. So I put it on and it's good. It's real good. Watch it before you have to cancel your Netflix subscription.
So how much you liked 2049 the first time around? You like it more this time? Yeah. Is that because you did watch Blade Runner and this one? Like, wait, is that what you're saying? Is that you watched them both back to back?
No, I mean, I did. No. I did, but I did that the first time I saw it too. This is just more of a.
All right.
It was. I think this is partially that. Like, I'm getting ready to go back and rewatch the Batman finally. Like, I can't wait.
Out.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting ready to rewatch it. Thank you for.
I can't wait to see how this relates to Blade Runner.
Oh yeah. So it relates in this way. I loved that at first watch. Same thing with 2049. On second watch, I'm not as like I'm listening and I'm looking at other things because I know the story, so I know what's coming, and now I can it frees my brain up and my eyes to look around a little more and see the things in the background that I maybe didn't see. You know, like at the start of the Batman, there's actually a portion where when we see the lounge and all that, there's a camera. The camera pulls in, and up in the left-hand corner, there's the Riddler is standing in the window looking like down at the building he's going to. And like in little things like that. Yeah. No, why would you?
Right now, what's the better movie, Blade Runner 2049 or the Batman?
Well, nothing is as good as the Batman.
Okay.
It's the Batman.
The Batman. All right. So come back next week for another movie, but also our live show on Thursday at 8 or 9 or 7 in that order. And we'll talk about everything else we've been watching. Or do we I forget that. Do we land on television volleyball for the live show? Okay. We're doing a live show. Television volleyball. It won't have anything to do with Severance because I'm ranking that our own show.
Yep.
So come back for that. Any other number of TV shows that aren't worth an entire episode.
I'm not going to bring up Welcome to Flatch again.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you are.
But it's really good, and I liked it. It's funny.
Okay. So come back next week for that. Thank you, everybody.
Bye!